Hello everybody, welcome back to some 428 Shibuya Scramble. Now, if you remember, we got a to be continued on Tama. So now we're moving on to OSAWA's story. Now keep in mind, Tama is the only girl in this little circle, so nothing we can really do, but wealth, status, honor, none of these mean anything to me. All I want is a peaceful life. To put worry behind me. To stay calm and serene. To be free of worldly concerns. What the fuck? Free at any cost. What's happening right now? What is happening right now? A cheery rhythm pumped from the— I hope this isn't copyrighted. A cheery rhythm pumped from the CD player set up against the sturdy wall. It was the latest hit from Aya Kamiki, the songwriter sensation who's been blowing up in the pop charts. Kenji Osawa reached for the stereo remote on his desktop. He ratcheted the volume up a little louder. He looked like the sort of man who'd be more interested in classical music. In fact, he was a huge fan of the girl rock, popular with middle schoolers. Closing his eyes, he swayed back and forth in time with the music, humming his favorite lyrics under his breath. But his movements faltered. It's no use. Aya's voice usually soothed whatever ailed him, but today even she couldn't help. Today, Orsaya was a complete wreck in both body and mind. Why? Let me know. Identify the infection route of UA virus. Common tumor viruses belonging to hemorrhagic fever. High death rate, 80 to 99%. Body acute pain, diarrhea, with blood, external and internal bleeding, and extremely high fever. Jesus! What? What the fuck are you? What is your job, my guy? Mounds of paperwork were scattered across the desktop in his study. All of it about viruses and vaccines. It had only been a week since he returned from a business trip to his company's branch office in the US, and he was slated to go back in another week's time. So he works for what looks like Okashi Pharmaceuticals. There was a truly staggering amount of work he needed to get through while he was at home. He picked up one of the papers, glanced at it aimlessly, and then tossed it back onto his desk. Slumping back into his chair, he let out a long, deep sigh. He was in no mental state to work right now. A faint knock at the door barely roused him from his torpor. Director, may I come in? And it was his vice director, Mamuro Tanaka. Sure, the door's open. Tanaka came into the study. I know it's not a great time, but Osawa could barely make out his words. He tapped the remote, lowering the volume. Taka continued apologetically. A call came in from the lab. They're hoping for a response to the email they sent yesterday. I'm sure they don't need it today. Apparently, they do need an answer as soon as possible, sir. I did ask them to give you some more time, but... I see, Osawa said wearily. Alright then. Tanaka dipped his head slightly and slipped out of the room. Osawa contemplated his colleague. Tanaka was a man he could truly depend on. He has enough of his own work to do. He didn't need to come here again today, but he did. Then we're working in close concert ever since Osawa had gotten back to Japan. Without Tanaka's support, there was no way he'd be in a mindset to do any work at all right now. Sliding up his computer, Osawa opened his email program and started answering the work-related messages. He reported on his business travel expenses, offered his opinion on capital investments, requested confirmation on current medicinal stockpiles. He worked with bleak detachment. None of this meant anything to him right now. Then a new email pop appeared in his inbox. The sender was identified simply as A. The subject line read, 1 year ago, South Africa. The message body was blank, where there appeared to be multiple images attached. Ordinarily, Osawa would have deleted a message like this, immediately assuming that it contained some kind of virus. But the words, South Africa, drew his attention. Could this possibly be related to... He couldn't help but to wonder. For a long moment he hovered the cursor over one of the image files. At last, after spurred on by the upbeat rhythm in his ears, he double-clicked the mouse. What is this? The grainy photo showed a large room with a dozen or so people laid out in beds. It appeared to be some sort of medicinal ward. Medical ward. Osawa felt a strange flutter in his chest. He quickly opened another image. This one showed a close-up of one of the patients in his bed. Large red blotches covered his face. A large volume of blood appeared to be dripping from his eyes and nostrils. A cold shudder ran up Osawa's spine. What the fuck? These symptoms. Osawa opened the remaining image files. Each new picture showed another of the patients. They all appeared to be teetering on the brink of death. There was no doubt about it. These people were infected with the UA virus. A member of the same family as the Ebola virus, and causes fulminant hemorrhagic fever. It is capable of airborne transmission, although an infected individual cannot pass on the infection before symptoms manifest. The CDC has assigned the virus to risk group 4, their classification for the most dangerous infectious agents. But how? Questions tumbled through Osawa's mind. They're obviously guinea pigs, bruh. His fingers tapped out a quick message. He doubted he'd get a response, but he might as well try. Who are you? Where are these images from? The UA virus got its name from a Swahili word for flower. The virus is blah blah blah. Because it's pronounced sickle-like shape, but it's sometimes known as the sickle of death. This is a viral envelope, the surface of which is coated with spiked protein. Supposedly this was based on the fact that the propagated form of the virus resembled the petals of a flower. Despite the flowery name, however, the disease was anything but pretty. UA, I'm just going to keep calling it UA. UA didn't just mean flower, it also meant to kill. And as the name suggested, the virus had a mortality rate of 100% in those it managed to infect. Having been suppressed is largely unknown in the world. Because all patients are known to have died, the incidence of the known cases grows. The number may drop below, but the mortality will remain extremely high. Moreover, there was a short incubation period between infection, the onset of symptoms, and death. Inhaled viral particles can spread from the lungs to the lymph nodes and then disperse throughout the body. Several places, the liver cells, some parts of the immune system, destroys the endothelial cells within blood vessels. Upon reaching the brain, it forms a neural sludge of blood mixed with other bodily fluids. Within roughly 12 hours, bleeding would set in throughout the body, everywhere but the bones and muscles, with lethal results. Due to its incredibly high mortality rate, the disease's very existence had been kept hidden from public knowledge. Osawa's computer chimed to signify the arrival of a new email. The sender was A. He hurried over the message. Once again, the subject line read, 1 year ago, South Africa. Your crimes. Oh, I stared at those two words. My crimes? That left him only with further questions. He looked again at the images from the previous email. What makes any of this my crimes? He could see that the patient's bleeding was severe. He estimated that several hours had passed since the onset of the disease. It wouldn't be long before their lives were cut short. To feel that agony, that suffering, and then to perish. Am I to blame for that? Did you infect them with it? If no, then no. If yes, then yes. It's not that hard. Another faint knock came at the door. Darling, do you have a moment? It was his wife. Hi. Give me just a second. O'Hara hurriedly closed the mail program. Even if this was nothing more than some sick prank, it wasn't anything he wanted his family to see. Especially not I. Alright, come in. But Osawa turned to see that I... Ooh. I'm in trouble now. Oh boy. Osawa turned to see that I had already let herself into the study. Oh boy. She gonna kick my ass. The sharp sting of her perfume made him scrunch up his face for a moment. Have you reconsidered the whole America thing? She asked. This again, Osawa thought sullenly to himself. Please, he said. Can we not discuss this right now? If not now, then when? You know this isn't a decision just to make on your own. On his latest business trip, a major American pharmaceutical firm had attempted to headhunt him, asking him to join and be among the top researchers in the world. The money and prestige held no interest for him, and he was reluctant to turn his back on Okashi Pharmaceutical after his many years of service. Pharmaceutical company for which OSAWA works for, major corporation with solid sales network, both domestically and internationally, and an annual turnover of 1 trillion yen. It holds patents for several medications that are in demand worldwide, and is influential at the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, and other political institutions. The company employs roughly 7,000 people, including 600 researchers. Nevertheless, he was intrigued by the offer. It would mean the chance to conduct his virus research in a much better funded environment. Taking the job would necessitate relocating to the U.S., however. When he mentioned the possibility of immigrating to Wait, what? Oh, when he mentioned the possibility of immigrating to she shot the idea down on the spot. Her opposition was understandable. Ai's father, Suguri Makanio, was a member of... God damn, these names are killing me today. Okishi Pharmaceuticals Board of Directors. No way was he going to let Osawa jump ship to another company. Darling, please. Cheer your ass out. I drew in closer to him. Think about it from my perspective. If you leave for America, what am I supposed to tell my dad? He's gotten so used to it. That grating whine of hers. Maybe I should infect her with the virus. Just stick a needle in her and infect her. But then I'd infect myself in the same. Why is she so intense? Have you considered what might happen to Akshi if you leave, dear? Why is she so intense? Why is it so quiet? The silence is deafening right now. We can discuss that once all this is finished. OSAWA kept his voice as level as he could. You do remember that you're a director, right? I don't even know if she's using this tone. I'm just assuming. I said, you have responsibilities. Stop thinking about yourself so much. With a sour look, I turned and departed. Okay. Well, he had known that moving to America would never be as simple a matter, regardless of what his wife thought about it. There was another reason, however. The antiviral agent that he had developed at Okashi after the UA virus was discovered in infectious diseases research facilities worldwide had thrown themselves into a top secret effort to develop a vaccine. But Makano had ordered OSAWA to create an antiviral agent, not a vaccine. Used to treat viral infections, influenza and HIV. They simply inhibit the development of the disease. The risk that treated viruses possess or develop a resistance. And then a vaccine is obviously safely introducing a harmless or a dead version of the virus. This triggers the body to produce antibodies, making it difficult for the dangerous version to take hold, obviously. Oops. What the hell did I just do? Oh, okay. Yep. A vaccine immunized the subject in order to prevent infection in the first place. Conversely, an antiviral agent could be used to treat patients already infected. It was a so-called wonder drug for combating the virus itself. Creating such a drug was far easier said than done. Developing the antiviral had been a long, arduous road. I think I pronounced that wrong, but... Only after years of research had OSAWA's team succeeded in identifying a substance that might qualify as an antiviral agent for UA. In theory, if it was administered during the virus's initial stage, 100% recovery could be obtained. Data also suggested that an 80% survival rate for patients treated shortly after the onset of the symptoms. There was a fatal flaw with the new antiviral agent. The side effects on the body were unusually potent. If administered in amounts beyond a certain threshold, it was linked to life-threatening complications. For a time, the research was at an impasse. It had seemed that the drug had to be administered in high volume to combat the explosive propagation of the UA virus. But then OSAWA had received some... God, these what am I, a fucking thesaurus? OSAWA's pharmaceuticals nanotechnology branch had engineered a cutting-edge device known as the DDS, drug delivery system. Such a system administers ultra-microscopic drug capsules to a targeted area of the body. OSAWA had jumped on it immediately by administering his antiviral agent with the nanotech DDS. Okay. Because the DDS can be used to deliver the drug with pinpoint precision only where it's needed, it can greatly reduce the side effects. The DDS, developed by Okashi Pharmaceutical, utilizes advanced high-tech polymers, which is the capsules containing the drug are fully broken down and eliminated from the body roughly 1 week after administration. He was able to use smaller amounts of the drug to quash the UA virus with precision. The procedure was a huge success. There was a marked increase in the drug's efficiency, along with an expected decrease in adverse side effects. The effects had been confirmed via animal testing on monkeys. And now the antiviral is ready for the final development stages, clinical trials on humans. But the very existence of this new wonder drug was still a secret. No doubt Akashi's leadership would be, without getting to see OSAWA, the drug's lead researcher, transferred to another company. Still, it wasn't completely outside the realm of possibility. Once the antiviral was out of development and pronounced to the public, OSAWA would be free and clear. For that very reason, he was loath to cause any friction over the drug right now. This anxiety only magnified his concern about the email he just received. OSAWA called up Tanaka over the intercom. There's something I want to show you. Could you come in here? He needed a second opinion. And Tanaka could be relied upon. OSAWA opened the door to the moment. Tanaka knocked. He looked around before ushering his vice director inside. What's this about, sir? This! OSAWA showed him one of the images. Tanaka's face went pale. It can't be. Tanaka clearly recognized the symptoms of the UA virus. Any idea what this is about? OSAWA asked. No, sir. These images were just emailed to me. The subject line says, 1 year ago, South Africa. That would put it around the same time as the most recent run of infections, wouldn't it, sir? But that information isn't... Tanaka trailed off. OSAWA nodded. The thing I don't understand is why these pictures were sent to me. OSAWA opened another email from A. The second message I got says these pictures are my crimes. I'll look into this on my end, sir, Tanaka said. He hesitated uncomfortably. Sir, just to make sure Are you asking what I think you're asking about? OSAWA said. Tanaka gave a slight nod. Understood. OSAWA said, don't worry, I won't trouble you. I appreciate that, sir. Visibly relieved, Tanaka left the study. OSAWA brought up a folder marked UA virus on his screen. Within the folder was enlarged images of the virus itself. He double-clicked one of the images. It blew up on the monitor to reveal the pathogen in intricate detail. A specimen of a UA virus was approximately 100 nanometers in diameter. 10,000 of them in line would take up barely a millimeter. But a single tiny viron upon entering the human body could become 2,000 in an hour. That speed of multiplication was nothing short of astonishing. Even the Ebola virus had a typical incubation... holy shit, these words are kicking my ass. An incubation period of 7 days or so before infectees developed symptoms. For influenza, it was 1 or 2. But the onset of the UA virus happened in a mere 12 hours. OSAWA viewed a image slideshow of the virus's propagation mechanism. It was a fascinating sight no matter how many times he looked at it. Viruses existed to multiply, nothing more. They had no motives, no driving logic, nothing but simple multiplication. To OSAWA, that felt of a certain air of mystery. If viruses had emotions, what would they feel about their lives? He had thrown himself into virus research in search of answers to questions like that. Answers that no man could ever truly know. His development of the antiviral agent had really been nothing more than another job responsibility. He felt no particular sense of duty to protect people from a killer virus. He was just happy for a chance to play around with the UA day after day? Another email arrived in his inbox. The sender, A. The subject line, 1 year ago, South Africa, again. OSAWA read the message. Do not look away. These are your crimes. This time there were 4 images attached. OSAWA proceeded to open each of them in turn. First shocked OSAWA so much that he felt like he'd been punched in the head. One of the UA patients from the earlier images was being injected with something. No. OSAWA muttered to himself. It can't be. The second image showed one of the infected hunched over in pain, vomiting up blood. The symptoms have already manifested, but OSAWA thought he could see that some degree of life had come back into the patient's eyes. He rushed to open the third image. It showed a morgue piled high with corpses. The rictus of anguish on the dead man's face, on the dead faces, made them no longer look human. Various fluid seeped from the eyes and nostrils. The lymph nodes were grotesquely swollen. There were hospital beds stained with massive amounts of blood and gastric fluids. Next came the fourth and final image. More corpses. They had badges affixed to their chests with various labels. 6 hours passed, 12 hours passed, 18 hours passed. It looked like someone had been attempting live trials with the antiviral agents. OSAWA didn't consider the antiviral agent ready for release, but that's because his team hadn't conducted clinical trials on humans yet. And there's a good reason why such trials hadn't been conducted. There was no way to test the efficiency of a drug without an infected patient. To run a proper clinical trial, someone would need to first be infected with the UA virus. No matter how effective animal testing had been, if a drug proved ineffective on humans, that person would have a guaranteed death sentence. It was unthinkable to run trials that involved such a deadly risk. And yet, as he looked over the images again and again, OSAWA became certain. Without his knowledge, someone, presumably from Okashi Pharmaceutical, had conducted human testing with the antiviral agent. Time markers on the corpses in the fourth image were surely there to mark the time lapsed since the onset of systems. A thorough trial would test the drug's effectiveness in those time frames. OSAWA slammed his fist on his desk and raged. This was nothing short of vile human experimentation in the guise of clinical testing. The people responsible could not be allowed to get away with this. There was only one person OSAWA could trust to keep this in the wraps. His boss, Makino. He reached for his phone to call him, but he stopped short as soon as he picked up the receiver. He knew he was in no state of mind to have a calm, reasoned conversation right now. Turning to the CD player, he put on Aya Kamika's latest album. Leaning back in his chair, he surrendered himself to her soothing tones. Bit by bit, he could feel himself returning to a calmer emotional state. There had been a time when OSAWA hadn't listened to music at all. In fact, he had no interest in the arts in general. Music, painting, cinema. What? It was only due to a simple coincidence that he had found Aya Kamiki. His daughter had asked for a CD as a birthday present, so he'd swung by the store to pick one up. Since Kamiki's new album had just come out, there was a display for it in the front of the shop. Something about the bright, colorful album packaging had drawn him in. After a time, OSAWA could feel himself growing calmer. He took a nice deep breath. We're gonna dial him up right now. Then he dialed up Makino. Took a nice deep breath and then dialed up Makino. Has there been any progress? Makino asked as soon as he picked up. His voice was somber. No, OSAWA said, nothing much yet. A tiny sigh came in from the other end of the line. I see. And what can I do for you? Sir, I'll just get right to the point. Have you conducted clinical trials using the antiviral drug? Makino didn't respond right away. Uh-oh. He's avoiding the question! What makes you think that? He asked at last. OSAWA described the emails he'd received. When he finished, Makino let out his breath in surprise. Not over the phone, he said. We'll discuss this in person. I'll head over to your place when I'm done here. As soon as possible, sir. As soon as I can manage, Makino said. You're not the only person who's busy. With that, Makino hung up. There was no doubt about it then. There had been human testing. OSAWA had let Tanaka know he'd be meeting with Makino. Mr. OSAWA? Oh. Mr. OSAWA, are you going somewhere? Who the fuck is this? A stolid-looking man stood in the hallway, almost like he'd been waiting for OSAWA to emerge. It was Yoshio Kajiwara. God damn. Yoshio Kajiwara, one of the detectives from the Shibuya district. He is sociable but awkward, and despite his reserve, he can be quite unsettling. Japanese Columbo and little Ken Takura, given his own quirky demeanor. He struck OSAWA as a bit too soft-spoken and meek for a detective, really. And his treatment for the kidnapping case gave him the impression of flighty detachment that made him seem rather undependable. No, not really. Have there been any developments, Doctor? Kajiwara shook his head quietly. I'm sorry, sir. I'm not really sure what to tell you. Wait, slam on the brakes. Is OSAWA's daughter the one that got kidnapped? No. Shit, what was Tomo's last name? He pulled out a banana. Are you hungry? These are good when you're tired. Bruh, I'm fine, thanks. Kajiwara seemed to lack a detective's sense of situational awareness. He is really creepy, ain't he? Just being around him got on OSAWA's nerves. Well, sir, I need you to come with me, the detective said, if you don't mind. He took OSAWA by the arm. What the fuck? As Kajiwara hurried him towards the living room, OSAWA could hear other detectives talking on the other side of the door. He's working at a town like this? Seriously? Sheesh, I do not get rich people in their priorities. Yeah, I feel bad for his daughter. Her dad's a real piece of work. Nice. And they were bad-mouthing him in his own house. Oh, I'm really sorry about all that, Kajiwara said, pausing the embarrassment. OSAWA pushed past him and opened the door. So, OSAWA's daughter is the one who got kidnapped. Interesting. A number of police detectives had holed up in the living room. They were suddenly silent as OSAWA entered. So tell me, he said sarcastically, would I rather stay here weeping as I watch this disaster unfold? The detective winced and grimaced. Forgive me for not being a perfect father, he added, his hostility building. Kojiwara stepped forward to intervene before things got out of hand. Now, let's not get touchy. I am not being touchy! Osawa snapped. But he knew full well that he was. These guys had time to sit around backbiting him, but not go out and bring Maria to safety. Already close to half a day had gone by without any new developments. The ransom demand had come in the previous night at 8 o'clock. Maria had been abducted roughly an hour before. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Arashiko Shibuya. I have the sisterhood told me to bring 50 million yen. If not, the girl's life is forfeit. The kidnapper only called once, so the police were unable to run a trace. I'll do it, Hitomi said. Anything for my sister. She didn't hesitate in the slightest suggestion to make the ransom handoff. That she make the ransom handoff. Osawa was staunchly opposed to the idea, but the police were of the opinion that it was better to acquiesce to the kidnapper's demands. Ari's reaction, on the other hand, baffled nearly everyone. We don't have 50 million just lying around. Are the police going to putting that together for us? Kojiwara stepped in to reassure her. If it comes down to it, the police will be able to help raise the money. Okay, go ahead then. Do it! We need you to pay it back afterwards, though, of course. Then what's the point of that? Aya's voice spiked to a piercing shriek. Calm down, Osawa told her. You're making a scene. Ai turned away in a huff. It's alright, detective. Osawa continued, I'll talk to the bank first thing tomorrow morning and figure something out. At that, I stormed out of the room. Oh, that gold-digging bitch. Kojiwara bowed his head several times in apology. As soon as Hitomi has made contact, we'll apprehend the suspect to take things from there. What? Hold on. Won't that put Maria in danger? If we let the kidnapper get away with the money, then we have no proof that he will return the hostage safely afterwards. There was a certain logic there, Osawa had to concede. I see, he said. Oh, so you're saying that catching this guy will be easier for you if he keeps my daughter hostage? No, that's not what I was implying at all. Kojiwara wiped the sweat off his brow and bowed profusely. At least, I promise we'll get your daughter back, safe and sound, Mr. Osawa. Obviously, there was nothing to be gained from further challenging the detectives. Alright then. I'll let the police do their job. Osawa bowed even lower. Osawa bowed even lower than Kojiwara had. How long are you just gonna loaf around? I shrieked as she stormed into the room. Oh god, someone smacked this bitch. Hurry up and arrest this guy! She was becoming increasingly hysterical. An hour had passed since the suspect had taken the money, and yet the police made no effort to apprehend him. The police apparently had a rule against discussing an operation before it was fully resolved, and so the Osawas had been left in the dark. But then they overheard the task force talking to them over the wireless, and it appeared that they were deliberately letting the suspect roam free. Hey! I snapped again. If he gets away with that money, you are going to reimburse us, right? Osawa scowled. She made it sound like the money was more important than Maria's life. The detectives exchanged uneasy glances. We're gonna chide the wife because she's really fucking annoying. It's only money. It doesn't matter. Only money? Are you serious? Do you have an idea how much we're talking about here? The ferocity in her voice left him with no response. He should have known better than to expect her to make sacrifices for his daughters. By now he was accustomed to Ai's coldness to the two girls. The twins were Osawa's daughters from his first wife who had passed 15 years earlier. I had no blood ties to Maria or Hitomi herself. Well, Ai continued, are the police going to reimburse us or not? She glared pointedly at Kajiwara. Well, right now we're focused on making sure Maria is safe. Stop dodging the question! Answer me! Yes, of course! Kajiwara squeaked. Maybe, would you like something to eat to help calm you down? What's this dude with? What is this dude's obsession with bananas? He held out a banana. I smacked it out of his hand. Oh dear, what a waste. Kajiwara scrambled to retrieve the fruit from the floor. Asai went over to Tanaka and whispered into his voice. I'm going to meet with Mr. Mikano. Tanaka nodded silently. Turning, Osawa saw Kajiwara looking in their direction. They made eye contact, but Osawa quickly looked away and strode out of the living room. Kajiwara followed after him. Excuse me, Mr. Osawa. Yes, what is it? The detective fussed sheepishly with his hair and forced a smile. Sir, we'd appreciate it if you could remain in the living room as much as possible. Osawa was in no mood to stand on propriety. Look, I've got a ton of work to do. Are you here to tell me to play the role of the grieving father too? No, not at all. Personally, I would happen to think you're an admirable father, Mr. Osawa. Admirable? Why did it have a ring of sarcasm? What is this music? He had no way to tell if Kajiwara was being forthright with him or not. You're no ordinary fellow, Mr. Osawa. You're a genius. A genius? Me? Osawa made a skeptical noise. Am I mistaken, sir? You made very important strides in the field of virus research. Or, well, so I've been told. Osawa wasn't sure how to respond. He never considered himself a genius. He was just someone who was more interested in viruses than he was in other people. Everyone who's a genius is also a little bit odd after all. Kajiwara went on. Probably he intended that as a compliment, but still. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with weirdos, so as long as they leave us ordinary folk alone, you know. What the fuck is this happening right now? Is this guy trying to praise me or insult me? Osawa let out a heavy sigh. Genius, weirdo, what did it even matter? So long as he left to work. He didn't care one whit how he looked in other people's eyes. Kajiwara wiped the sweat off his forehead with a handkerchief. By the way, what are you working on right now? He asked. I'm afraid you wouldn't understand even if I explained it to you, Osawa replied. Right, precisely. Even if I gave my full attention, it would still be beyond me. He peered with sudden intensity at Osawa's face. Jesus. I'd appreciate it if you didn't hide things from me, sir, he said. Osawa gaped, at a loss for words. Oh, I'm sorry, Kajiwara added hurriedly. Goodness, that made it sound like I'm accusing you of hiding something, didn't it? The detective bowed his head repeatedly. I hope you'll forgive me. He held out. What the fuck is this obsession with the bananas? That won't be necessary. How about this then? This time he pulled a bar of chocolate from his pocket. No, thank you. Did this guy just carry an endless food supply wherever he went? Oh my, Kajiwara murmured. You geniuses really are tough to sort out. He inclined his head, mumbling to himself for a moment. What can I get for you then, sir? What I'd really like is some time by myself. In the days of God damn. Osawa felt his way to his study. Locking the door, he finally let the breath out he'd been holding, and then his eyes alighted the bookshelf against the wall. He pulled out the foldable album and just began to flip through it. There were pictures of his daughter's grade enrollment ceremony. Their mother had already passed away from illness, so Osawa had taken the girls himself. He remembered that after the ceremony, he told me I'd come down with a fever. He told me I'd been rather sickly as a girl, falling bedridden at the drop of a hat. Maria, by contrast, had been lively and energetic, quite the handful. Osawa had found it remarkable that personalities could be so different despite them being twins. He flipped further into the album. There was a picture of the three of them at their grad school graduation. Maria was looking away from the camera. Osawa had felt someone had stabbed a dagger into his heart. His daughters? Of virology. Which truly concerned him more? Which did he truly love? It was ridiculous to try to compare the two. He knew the answer before he even asked himself. Even so, human emotions were complicated. Sometimes made people act inconsistently. One of the consequences of that was this photo album. This was the last photo he had of Maria. He searched and searched through the rest of his album, but she was nowhere else to be found. Damn! Alright. So now we finally met the father of the daughters. So now we just got two left. This dude and Kaino. Obviously we'll be doing this dude next episode. So let's go over that.